This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I'm rather excited to be inviting to our global community today somebody who I feel like I know really well, but he's got an actual pseudonym, possibly. We're going to go there, don't worry. This is Mike McGann, and he is somebody who I think we are going to learn so much from today, not least because he's one of the very few people who has actually started, scaled, and sold a business. I know it's what everyone talks about in recruitment, but it's something like 1% of people actually go through that. So we're going to get to pick Mike's brain today. We're going to talk about a whole load of stuff to do with, curating a business, but also how you can actually magnify yourself over on social media. So without further ado, welcome to you today, Mike. How are you?
Thank you for having me. First one I've done of these in a long, long time, so
I
be
feel honoured.
kind.
I feel
Yeah.
honoured. I really do. And you're not actually far from me. We're doing this virtually, but you're literally up the road in Warrington. So
Yeah.
that's just
Where are you
great.
based?
We're in Edenfield, which is North Manchester. This is
Oh
where
yeah.
our office is based. I actually live in Ramsbottom, which anyone that
Oh
follows,
yeah.
that's where I'm based. But our community is all across the globe. We've got people listening in America, we've got people listening in Australia, Pan Asia. It's an amazing community. So most people, it tends to be UK. It just depends on, I guess, who the guest is. So there'll be people
Are we
that
video or is this audio only?
it's both. We
Oh
share it
good.
on YouTube, but mainly audio. And that's because I think that podcasts, it's about doing it while you're, cleaning your car, taking your dog for a walk, heading into the office. I like to listen. And it's also because I don't like to watch myself back because I just seem to do this a lot with my hands. Flap, flap,
Oh
flap.
no. Well, I think go video first because you can always then pull the audio out from it. So yeah, video first is a good
It's a
strategy for
good
a
way
podcast.
to do it. Well, it's just how I started doing it from when we accidentally launched in COVID, like a lot of people did, because I didn't know what else to do for my customers. So we're still here, 5 seasons in, and we finally got you on. So it is with absolute honour. So there'll be plenty of people clicking on who maybe don't know who you are. Give us your potted history, Mike.
But I guess most people would know me as doing the Mike Winnet stuff really. So on LinkedIn when I do sort of parody guru posts, kind of taking the piss out of what I thought people that got their dreams and capabilities mixed up, people giving advice on things that they've never achieved. And it was just, how can you sit there as a one-man band at your kitchen table telling people how to scale their business to 10 million quid when you've never employed a person before, you've never done 100 grand's worth of sales, and if you jump on company's house, like you've literally set the business 3 months ago. And I was just kind of like, I found the rise of that on LinkedIn quite interesting.
Mm,
And because I had literally sold my own business for 8 million quid, Learning Heroes, which is an online e-learning company, and I sold to L&D people, because I'd sold that business and I was paid not to work for 2 years as part of the sale.
mm.
I found it mad that there was people that had achieved far less than me, felt confident enough to give advice that they'd never lived before. And I didn't even think I was in a position to give that advice because I think anyone can fluke one, right? So I think I'll talk about that kind of stuff when I've sold the next one or the one after that. So it just kind of blew my mind that people have their dreams and capabilities mixed up. So I started to take the piss out of it a little bit and exposed how easy it was to fake credibility and authority. And I don't know, some people might have seen that I got a blank book to number one on Amazon
Uh,
in 24
if
hours.
you haven't seen that, it's just absolutely if that doesn't show how crazy society is.
Yeah, but it's again, it's the same thing because I've always felt like I like to talk from experience, and I worked out how it was possible to do that, and I
Mm.
could have just told people, or to really drive home the point and show how easy it was. I thought, why don't I take it to the extreme? And by doing it with a blank book and doing it in only 24 hours, filming the process, putting that on YouTube, I just thought that was a far better way to demonstrate like how crazy it was. And
Mm.
that made worldwide news. That made news in America or Australia. If you type in like Mike Winnet blank book, it comes up on Google now. People still reference that when they speak to about anything. So yeah, the reason why I called Mike Winnet, I guess, is because I was doing all these pranks and all this exposure stuff in the YouTube stuff in a pseudonym, like Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast isn't really called Mr. Beast. That's kind of stuck. Ironic because the surname Winnet means something in the Northwest. But yeah, so people know me as that. But the reality is my real name is Mike McGann. The next thing that I launch, which I've been doing sort of in the shadows for the last 2 years, so I've not done a podcast, well, it'll be more my own name and stuff like that and build the team, all that stuff. So I've got a business here of 18 people.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so yeah, that's what
Going
we're going to
again,
launch in the next few weeks.
going again.
Yeah, because I like doing
This
it,
goes
to be
out,
honest.
it'll be out there, won't it?
Yeah. But also, by the way, selling a business is good.
Hmm.
Getting divorced is expensive. So
Yeah. Well,
This is why I'm
we
back.
this podcast could go a whole different way because I've done that twice, Mike. So, but
Oh,
before we get there,
twice.
maybe we will go there actually. Yeah. Talk to me about when you, I guess, launched that business that you then successfully sold your e-learning platform. Just talk us through, I guess, the pillars that you went through, because this podcast is really well known for creating aspirational advice to those who want to either scale as a solopreneur, possibly, maybe want to
Yeah.
go through an exit. So, what pillars did you have in place, i.e., what considerations did you set out to scale and sell first and
I
foremost?
I naively wrote £10 million on a piece of paper in a date 3 years in the future, and I thought I could set up a business and do that.
Wow.
I failed, obviously. I only got 8 million, and it was 2.5 years. But this is going to sound mad. So I basically worked in 2 startups. So I've done 6 years of working in startups, and I've always felt I would have my own business.
Yep.
But instead of going to someone's course in Basingstoke, sat there for 14 hours having a pitch at me over a weekend, learning how to scale a business, and spending 10 grand to find out that they don't know what to talk about and it's probably not going to work, I thought I'd rather get paid on someone else's time. So
Yep.
if I went and joined a startup in the niche I think I would like to work in the future,
Hmm.
I'm especially an early startup. I'm being exposed to things that I wouldn't normally be exposed to if I was employed number 50. So I
Yep.
was learning about marketing, sales. I was hearing management talk that I probably shouldn't have been in the room to hear when I was brand new in the business. I was learning what worked, what didn't. I've come up with some ideas. I could really suggest ideas and they could implement it quite quick rather than going through red tape and talking to a manager, a line manager, a department manager. So I learned so much from that. So I did 2 years in a startup first, as in
Yep.
like it was sort of within 2 years, as in startup age. And then I got to sort of like the glass ceiling now. I couldn't get promoted anymore because there was no roles above me.
Yep.
And also there was too many people in place anyway to go for like the next job role because in my manager's mind, I wasn't qualified to do that role.
Yeah.
So I asked if I could leave. He was like, yes. Like the reason we're not getting promoted is you earn a lot of money for me in the job role you're in. I said, I need to go. I feel like I need to further my career here. So I went and found a brand new startup that didn't have any employees,
Right.
didn't have a website, and I joined there. And I actually joined for pay reduction. So I
Okay.
joined there at like 14 grand basic
Goodness me.
salary. But on the basis that I felt if I could bring in sales, and I really went heavy on being incentivized with any sales or business that I brought in, and I ended up finishing that job on 75 grand a year. And this is back in the day, by the way. This is old school. But I basically helped design the sales, the marketing, everything within that business because I was the first employee. So by virtue of being in there early, I was
Mm.
learning loads more, and I was always senior to whoever came in. So if someone came in, I had to sort of teach them
You
how to do this. So
mentored them and taught them. Did
kind
you
of, yes.
that financial model, just I just want, before we move on to the next bit, because this is all really relevant, by the way, because this is, if I was a recruiter listening, I'd be thinking, and I'm working for a big corporate, the only way I'm ever going to really understand, I think it's a really valuable piece of advice. Go and work for a smaller startup business because you will get
Yeah.
exposed to everything, the raw, the bad, the ugly. And did
And
you
then you can decide, by the way, you can decide in 2 years whether it's for you or not. And you might just want to stay put, you might be going to a big corporate then,
absolutely?
but you've got experience. Or you've
Mm.
learned so and you back yourself to set your own business up. Now I was smart. I'm
Mm.
not flash at all, like don't wear any jewelry, drive a
Mm.
shit car. And so I basically thought my outgoings were 2 grand a month. So I got to the point where I was earning 70 grand a month now. So I was now like year 6 of working in startups across 2 different companies.
Yeah.
I was promised £1,000 as a bonus if I achieved some goal, some sales
Okay.
goal.
Yeah.
Recruiters, this will probably really resonate with you guys. When I actually hit the target that was promised, I went in to get £1,000 and they said they were only going to give me £500 because I didn't have it in writing that I'd
Mm.
get £1,000. I looked at the other director of the business saying, are you really going to stick me up here? I've been here since day one. We've got 45
Wow.
staff. We've opened 35 franchise offices that I helped sell. You're really going to stick me over 500 quid? Which, by the way, the reality there is you've kind of outlived, I was more hassle than I was probably worth to the business. Now they thought they could get people to do my job all cheaper because now I'd set what they needed to do. They could get someone in and probably do it cheaper. And that's how some
You've
businesses think, short
almost
sighted.
replaced yourself, but you've not. It's
Yeah.
succession planning in its truest form.
And I'd already come up with some ideas how to help with cash flow and increase revenue. But the response I got was, what do you know? You've never run your own business. And my director that promised me a grand then trying to give me 500 quid. And I said, like, you don't know, like, this is out of order and blah, blah, blah. And he said, the problem with you, Mike, you would only have a really well-run business, but it'd be very small. It wouldn't make any money. And it was that comment that made me walk to my desk and write my notice
I'm
down
not
there and then.
surprised.
Now, the maddest thing was I was on like 75 grand a year at the time,
Wow.
and I had a baby on the way. I walked home 10 o'clock, got home with my ex-wife at the time, said,
Mm.
like, what you doing? I've had it so good. I was still living within my means. So every month I was putting aside 2 grand a month,
Yep.
and I put aside 12 grand. So
Hmm.
I knew if I set up my own business, I had 6 months for it to work before I
Yeah.
needed to panic.
You had your runway, didn't you?
Yeah,
You
so it
were
was six
sensible.
months for 12 grand. So as soon as I had 12 grand in the bank, I wasn't asked really what they said. And I
No.
felt like I'm not going to let somebody else determine how much money I earn. I want to be 100% responsible for my own success and failures.
Yep.
I quit that day and I didn't even have a clue what my business was going to be.
Yeah, I love that.
So I didn't know what it was going to be. And I picked a niche that I'd never worked in before, didn't have an audience in, and I had no experience of
Why?
because the model worked. So when I sat at home, now, I put my garden leave, I sat down and I thought, what do I want to look for in a business that
Yeah.
I can scale and sell? And I
Okay.
realized, did my research, what do the best businesses do? So I realized, I mentioned it before off camera,
Mm.
build it once, sell it many times
Yeah.
is the quickest way to scale a business in my mind. So I could, like, at the moment now, I do videos for businesses to help businesses win new clients, marketing, sales, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But now, if you come to me, please, and you said, Mike, I want a um, company intro video. I want people to understand what we do in 60 seconds. Can you make that video for me? The answer is yes. And I've got to use the same brain power, same script writer, same storyboarder, um, videographer, and editor to make that video for you.
Yeah.
And I can only charge you a cost for it. Let's just say I charge you 3 grand.
Yep.
I only make 3 grand, and I've had to have 3 lads or 4 lads, Molly, the copywriters, put all this stuff together.
Yep.
I could sell it once, or I could
Yep.
go how to create the ultimate
Mm.
company intro video,
Yep.
still use the same team to write it, script it, storyboard, film, edit it, and now I could sell that product to 500 recruitment firms saying, "Are you thinking of making your company intro video?"
Yeah. Of
It's the same amount of effort to me. One's just made me
course it
500
is.
times more money.
It's just recurring, isn't it, with the same model, but you're
Yeah.
saying it many times
So I
over.
just thought, what do I need to do? So I sat at home, went on a job board, and looked for what skills I needed in jobs. And it was be able to work in a team, communicate effectively, the usual shite that you see all jobs ads
Usual
say.
generic words.
And I just thought, what, like, how do I prove that I can work well in a team or as an individual? All the stuff that you see, but I've not got a GCSE in time management or a GCSE in teamwork and ability. So I went online and looked for some e-learning courses, and that was when the penny dropped. E-learning was absolutely shite. It was death by
Right.
PowerPoint, multiple choice answers, all the answers, but all the above. And I thought, how can you sell a 3 hour time management course that's basically death by PowerPoint and be happy with that? And then I just started to think, if I want to learn something in business or in real life, set my Sky Digital box or how to cook the perfect turkey at Christmas, where
Yeah.
do we go? We go YouTube, right? Or we go online. And if there's a 12-minute video and a 3-minute video, which one am I going to watch?
Yeah.
So I thought,
Absolutely.
why, if we learn in real life in a particular way, everyday life, but then when it comes to work, because we're trying to justify expensive training costs, do we then go, actually, let's not use that way of learning that everyone
Mm.
is happy with and enjoy. Let's now do a 4 hour e-learning module. And then I started to look at e-learning as a whole, and everyone charged per head, per course. If your business grew by 10 learners, I'd try and charge you more. I'd tell you someone contract. And I just thought, pennies dropped. Can I actually set up a business that's genuinely an alternative? So
Yep.
I went with no cost per course, no cost per price. I don't care if you had 100 learners or 1,000 learners, it's the same price. You pay to access this training content. And I was going to make it really short, really bite sized. Here's a skill, go and put it into practice on the sales floor. And that was what I did. And I just basically come up with that. But I had zero skills, didn't know how to script the course, didn't know how to animate, didn't know how to make e-learning. So I just went and found people that could. And then we divvied up the company between us. And then lo and behold, two and a
That's,
half years later, we sold it.
that is, I mean, talk about a blueprint of how to, that last point particularly, where so many founders get it wrong. They try and do everything. They try and become the expert. They'll spend a fortune trying to upskill themselves, but actually you
No,
surround
no, why
yourself with the
just
right
go get them in.
people. Get them in.
But so that's what I did. Like, and I got, and Ian, the business partner from that business, we're still doing stuff together 9 years later, 8 years
Wow.
later,
Amazing.
because we're a good team. So yeah, me and him have stuck together from the original, and we're going again
You're
on this
going
one really.
again, which is amazing. So,
Mm.
you mentioned earlier on, rather humbly, I thought that, you feel that there's, and I also feel like there's this swathe of people, particularly on LinkedIn, which is tends to be where recruitment people sit, of these experts, experts in LinkedIn selling, experts in personal branding, experts in this, and then you actually go and look at their posts and they've got like 3 likes, they've got 0 followers on YouTube or whatever. And I think there's an awful lot of hot air out there right now.
Do you know what I think it is? Most people out on LinkedIn now, if you look at if creating a personal brand and a sales and marketing strategy that generates leads for an
Yep,
actual business that solves a problem is
yep,
very different to if I wanted to create an audience because I sold how to grow an audience. Now I
yep,
know if I wanted to get that type of attention, you could easily post pretty pictures of yourself.
yep.
You and then your proof is you just going from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers in 3 months. But
Mm,
that strategy isn't going to work for the guy that sells solar panels
no.
to corporate businesses, or the guy that sells fuel cards, or the guy that sells vehicle tracking systems for haulage companies,
Mm,
because no one's asked about Colin from Coventry doing his vulnerable post on Tuesday, because all his actual, when you sell B2B, all people really care about is, does this person look legit when I first land on them? So,
yep,
and where do we go when we're doing research on someone?
yep,
Google, website. So I need to
yep.
make sure that all those touch points, and
Absolutely.
most people seeing your content aren't going to necessarily be the decision maker. So I'm Mike McGann. I need somebody in here to do an alarm system. New studio just moved into 2 weeks ago. An alarm system in our studio. I see a post that comes up, or I'll do a post that says, "Can anyone recommend an alarm system or alarm management company?" 3 or 4 names will get bandied about. I'm going to
Yep,
click on their LinkedIn profile. All I need to see now is, do they look legit? First off,
yep,
I might go on Google to search their company name, go on their website. So I'm looking at like 3 or 4 places before I decide who I'm going to invite to speak to. Ultimately, if I'm not the decision maker, I've got to take 1 or 2 of these people to my boss and not look an idiot. So I don't read the
not
guy
look
that recommends
cool.
someone on a
Yeah,
ship. So that's when people realize that when we actually, and I'm talking proper business people making proper business decisions to buy suppliers, no one's really asked um, about 90% of the stuff that these gurus that say you need to do this to build an audience. I managed to sell my business with 340 customers.
wow.
That's it. I didn't need 30,000 connections. I've just managed to get a year's worth of sales for one of my clients in 6 weeks. I've matched his previous year's best amount of sales by just making 4 videos and
Wow.
targeting 25 hand-picked businesses that are most like his biggest revenue generating existing customer
Right.
base.
That's
And
the
when you start
impact,
thinking
isn't it?
commercially, and this is why I think working with us is so different, because I always look at, if I sold to Arsenal Football Club today, here's an example, and this is an existing client. So I've got a client that did a piece of work with Arsenal Football Club for 80 grand.
Hmm.
And their goal when they came to me said, "Mike, I would like to bring an extra 800 grand a year in revenue to my business. How can we do it?" I could have gone, "Oh, we need to make all this content and let's tag all these people." But what I did was I went, "Well, the answer is already within your existing client base. So let's look at the people that have made the most amount of money, Arsenal. Let's look at the challenges that that company had that you had to overcome when you worked with them. So the season finishes on a particular day, starts on a particular day. So I know then the window to do any work with them is a small window.
Yep.
High footfall because the crowds, the attendances. Okay, so that's another key point that we need to work around. Working with the existing facilities manager and stadium manager so it's less disruption. Now, if I said to you now, you have to get 800 grand into your business,
Yep.
we've done this for Arsenal, can we think of 10 other businesses that might have the same problem, the same challenges?
Yep.
Well, the answer there is Aston Villa,
Of
Chelsea,
course, it's
Liverpool,
other
Everton,
football
Man
teams.
City.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I just go, let me create a piece of content that speaks specifically about how we fix this problem for this football
For
club.
Arsenal, yeah.
Here was the results before, here's what we did, here's the results after. Now I'm a salesperson in your business, so don't think of myself as a marketing person. I would then go facilities manager, LinkedIn, search extra filters, current um, current employer, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal,
Yeah.
connect with them, and I would say, thanks for connecting. you might have missed this video that I released on Monday, where I specifically talk about a company that looks exactly like yours, which has got exactly the same challenges. And here's how we reduce their carbon footprint, increase the revenue of the business, whatever the thing is that we
Whatever the
fix.
thing is. Yeah, yeah. That's
Guess what happens?
that's a testimony boom right there, isn't it?
1 week, 7 other Premier League clubs have booked a call with us.
Wow. I mean,
Whereas I've got these idiots
impact.
going, hey, I'm going to talk about, what I had in my packed lunch this week, and then it's got 30,000 impressions, and they're going, oh, look at all these likes I've got. But I could literally be in, out, scaled,
Yeah,
sold while you're still
yeah,
building your 20 grand, 30 grand. And I think people just
yeah.
prioritize just shite content, really. I always go sales assets over like just disposable content is what I call it. And
It, but
until
it, but it is, and this is a level of a conversation, and I'm so pleased this is where we're going with it because I think the algorithm, specifically on LinkedIn, let's say, has basically ensured that this is where we're at, and it's so disingenuous, and that's all people seem to be bothered
but
about
let
sharing.
them do it. Let them do it.
I
Let silly
know.
people play silly games, you win silly prizes. There's a reason at the very beginning you said only 1% of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
achieve the thing that I do.
yeah,
That's because I don't fuck about with the 99 doing the stuff that 99% do.
yeah.
I'm
It's
never
true.
going to post about, my battles with being sober and all these types of things because I always look at, I can do, by the way, I'm not saying don't do that, but it's not at the detriment of the stuff that I know. Does
Well,
it make me look more credible? Does it make me look
yeah,
like an authority? And could I use that? This is always the key. If I worked in sales and the marketing person giving that piece of content today, could I use that in a direct approach to my ideal client? And if the answer is no, I
yeah,
don't prioritize it.
yeah. It's
I've not made a video
valid.
for 2 years, and the videos that I made 2 years ago still generate 75 grand a month in sales for me because I don't need to talk about anything else because those 7 problems are still the 7 problems that my ideal client faces. So that's it. Why am I?
Yeah,
I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want to be making content every day. I ain't got
no.
the time. The only thing I want to do every day is close sales. And until my mortgage company accepts LinkedIn followers or impressions as currency, I'm not going to prioritize them.
Absolutely. Some of those,
So it's just mad, really, to me. So
it really is absolutely ludicrous. What other social media channels do you tend to focus on? What do you think is useful?
none.
What, not
I don't,
TikTok?
I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook. The
Wow.
only 2 places I have are LinkedIn and YouTube. And
YouTube.
the only reason I'm on YouTube is who owns YouTube?
Mm.
Google. So if someone then, where did we say people go if they go and do the research on you?
Yeah, they're on Google.
They go on Google. So now if they type in Paul Russell Luxury Academy, who's one of my clients that's doing really well at the moment, don't know if you've seen him, what comes up? Paul's got now 8 or 9 videos that are all directly linked to the problem he fixes,
Yeah,
and the people he fixes for come up as the first thing you see. Then you click on them and you'll either go to his website, those videos are also on his website, or you're on his YouTube channel, those videos are also on his YouTube channel. I've got 8 or 9 pitch perfect salespeople working for Paul 24 hours a day that I discovered if his ideal client is looking for the problem he fixes, or if he sends them to them in a direct approach, he can go, hey, Balenciaga, here's how I worked with uh, D squared, or here's how I worked with Chanel, or hey, Ferrari, here's what I did when I worked with Bugatti.
yeah.
And that's how come we've managed to,
To-
well, you can look at the results, it's crazy.
So if
But
you
it's
could,
not hard.
no, I know, and if you could press Control Alt Delete on all of it, I guess that's why where the parody stuff comes from. It would be probably having less people on the platform, just sharing much more meaningful testimonies of what they've actually done. But how do you balance it? If you're going to sell through social, how do you
Mhm.
balance it where it's not just constantly selling at people and not
But I
creating
don't think, no,
message?
because you need to be clever. That it's only shit people that don't know how to make content. It feels like that, right?
Yeah,
If I go buy my stuff, it so if I'm saying I'm there, the facilities manager of Aston Villa, at no point do I think that when I get this video that shows me what you've done for Arsenal, I
yeah,
don't think you're trying to sell me. I'm not going, click here to get a proposal, or click here to book a sales call. What I'm doing is I'm saying, here's me showing you I understand a problem you've got in your business.
yeah.
And in this video, I'm going to show you how to fix it.
Love it.
Hopefully you find it useful.
Yeah.
That's it. Then
So
they're
if
going to
I,
go, oh, that is quite useful. I might listen to more things that this guy says, or but really I'm going, you have got that problem. That video is really interesting, Mike. Can I help you? That is really interesting, Mike. Can you tell me a bit more? Now they're asking to be pitched to.
Yeah. So
And the power switch there is huge.
of course it is because you
Whereas
created
if I'm going, you don't know who I
principally.
am, you've never heard of me before, can you buy something from me? The answer is going to be no. But if they go, they're in their office and go, bloody hell, have you seen what Arsenal have done here? I didn't
Yeah.
even know this was an option.
It's that
Do you know what? Let's
it's
speak to this guy.
competition because you've been targeted with it. So actually
Yeah.
making this directly relevant to recruiters
And I'll
using.
go back to this number, by the way,
Mm,
and this is why it makes no sense to me. If I said to you now, and this is the biggest mistake most people make, is I knew how many customers I needed to sell a business for 10 million quid, and every decision I made was to help facilitate that.
hmm
I speak to so many businesses. I probably do 4 or 5 business calls a day where people don't even know what their actual end goal is, what the figure is, how many sales they need to hit. They've got no idea of the numbers. But when I talk to my proper clients, so I spoke to a training company recently, and I
hmm
said, how many customers do you actually need to hit your revenue goal? They only needed 25 customers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, I bet between us now, we could probably name the best 25 that you could work with. Yeah.
Yep.
So why aren't we speaking to them this week? Because I
Yeah.
could literally speak to them directly. So why do I need to play a silly game of I'll do this post and hope someone sees it and can work
Yeah.
out what I do, what problem I've got, and then maybe get in touch. And I could literally go, hey, Aston
Or
Villa,
or sitting
here.
there doing cold calling to people that you don't want to connect to. I
Well,
think
I
it's
always
a really
cold
useful
call off the back of the
strategy.
content
Mm.
because most people don't buy from cold call, won't buy from an email. But even if they are interested, they might go, let me check that person out. That's quite interesting. And where do we end up? Google. So why have we got a YouTube channel? Because
Yeah,
you keep on Google.
absolutely.
It's not hard, really, isn't.
It's bringing everybody back. I think there's some really
And
useful
I do
tips
this for
there.
recruitment companies, by the way. And it's mad how shy recruitment companies are at this stuff. That it means that when I work, well,
It's
they
true.
are making content that's liked by the people that work in their recruitment company. You're
Yeah.
teaching the algorithm. It's recruiters that want to see my content. It's different for you because you work in rec to rec, so you
Yeah,
want
no,
viewers to see it.
I get that. Yeah,
But imagine me now being, and I do marketing content, and the
yeah.
people I write it for are other marketers, and people that engage with it are other marketers,
Yeah.
as in
Exactly.
marketing agencies. I'm literally handing my content to my competitors.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
this is how these recruitment companies work.
I know.
Recruitment, write content for other recruiters to find funny. But the
Mm,
reality is talk about the problems you fix for your best paying customers and go
yeah.
and target similar
It,
companies.
it's
And
this
I
has been really good for business. I didn't know this was going to go into it. Like this is all about business development for me now. What
but
you're
this is
talking.
what I do for clients. I
Yeah,
make the content and then come up with this strategy to make sales. Because ultimately, if you give
yeah,
me 10 quid and I give you 100 quid back, you're gonna keep giving me 10 quid.
yeah.
Most of the video companies or marketing companies you speak to aren't commercially aware, have never grown a business before, never sold a business. They'll just go, you want 10 videos? We'll make you 10 videos. I say, why? Why do you think you need 10 videos? Why do you
Yeah.
think you need a podcast? And the answer probably is you don't. If you tell me you need a podcast, I go, why? You've picked the vehicle to get to a destination. I don't even know where we're going. If you tell me where we want to go, I might say, well, actually, we need a plane for this first bit, a ferry for the
Yeah.
next bit, and then we need a bike for the last bit. So don't do a podcast. We could probably achieve these goals with 2 or 3 bits of key
Mm.
content. Let's go make 100 grand first, and then we can talk about a podcast when you've got something to talk about.
It's the magpie effect, isn't it? I think it's because if you start to see what other people are doing, you think, well, that's what I need to be doing. But actually, what you're
I
saying, this is so targeted to anybody that's running a
Yeah.
recruitment business right now. You can pick up this model and go
Hey,
move.
if your guys are sat there making action figures themselves, like, what the fuck are you doing? I would love it. If I was in your niche, I would absolutely love it because I know that my strategy would crush you. And I know that because I've got like 8 or 9 recruitment clients.
Mm, yeah. Oh
And they all
well.
come with me and they all come to me with the same 3 problems. I can tell you right now, do you want to hear what every recruiting company comes to me? Hey, Mike, we need help with one of 3 things.
Yeah.
We need more clients,
Yeah.
we need more candidates,
Candidates.
or
Yeah.
we need to look like an appealing company so we can attract the best the best
And the best
employees.
recruiters as well. Yeah.
That's good. They're the only 3 things.
Yeah.
And do you know what?
Yeah.
It's a slightly different piece of content that achieves all 3. And
Yeah.
you can't do all 3 at the same time.
Nope.
If you throw me 3 tennis balls, I'm going to catch on. But if you give me one, I
Yeah.
guarantee we can fix it. And then we can go
Yeah.
and start making some more money. I basically speak to recruitment companies about those 3 problems probably every week. And
Yeah.
depending on which one of those things you want to fix, it's a really easy fix.
Yeah.
But mainly, cash solves everything. More sales solves everything. And
Of course it does.
most people don't know how to win business. And it's so easy. LinkedIn is literally a directory of speaking directly to the person you want to speak to. How you can't do that successfully blows my mind.
No, it blows my mind too. This has been so useful, and I'm so grateful for you joining us on the podcast. So as
Stood
we
up as well.
share
I'm
this,
not even sat down.
I know, but that's all I know. I'm sat on the lowest chair in the history of chairs. Don't ever buy a Castlefield. They look great, but they're just all style over substance and all that. Don't bother.
Wow. There's
Thank
plenty of
you
them all
so
over
much
here.
for joining us. When we actually do share this, everything will be sort of going full pelt with your business. So we'll get all those links shared. But Mike, you've been brilliant and you've shared some really insightful things here. And I think you've definitely got my grey matter working. You
Can I
got one
say one last thing?
there. Of
So the reason
course.
I've called the new business is because of this. Graft, not guru. Stop listening to gurus and put a bit of graft in. You'll be far more successful. So the new business is graftnotguru.studio.
Love
That'll
it.
be where you'll see, yeah, and that will be marketing, sales strategy. Basically, if you want to scale, exit your business, and you want to do it as quickly as possible from someone that's actually done the thing you're trying to
Yeah.
achieve rather than someone that's never ever done it before.
I
Check
love
us
it.
out.
Graft, it's such a northern word, isn't it? Graft, not guru.
Yeah,
It's about time we started seeing more people like you, Mike. Thank you so much. I
no
am
problem.
truly grateful, and it's so lovely to finally meet you on camera. We'll have to get together in person. Thanks for joining us on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast.